Christians throughout the world, this is the holiest place on earth. The building as seen today has been through fires, earthquakes, and deliberate destruction many times over the centuries. As a Christian visiting the Holy Land, I can assure you the most confusing place you will visit will be the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. According to traditions dating back to the very beginnings of Christianity, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre is built on the site of Jesus' crucifixion and resurrection. The problem is the location doesn't look anything like you'd imagine. What you have to remember is this location has had 2,000 years of human alteration since the events depicted in the Gospels. Obviously, a complete history of this location is beyond the scope of one YouTube video. I will, however, hit some highlights and leave some links to some websites in the description below. One question that comes to mind is, why is this old ladder on the second floor below one of the windows above the entrance? We'll get to that answer in a little bit. 2,000 years ago, at the time of the crucifixion, the site would have looked something like this, with Calvary Hill in the middle and the tombs over to the left of the picture. Approximately 100 years later, the Roman Emperor Hadrian had the site filled in and leveled out. On top of that platform, he built two temples, one to the Roman god Jupiter and one to the goddess Venus. The Roman Emperor Constantine the Great, approximately 200 years later, made the next major changes to the location. The emperor had converted to Christianity. He then sent his mother Helena to Jerusalem and the Holy Land to identify the sites mentioned in the Gospels. The Emperor Constantine ordered the temples to Venus and Jupiter removed, along with all the fill-in dirt and retaining walls. In order to accommodate the building of a church around the site, the emperor then had part of the hillside cut away. These two illustrations show how the site was altered to allow for the construction of the churches. The Crusaders arrived in the year 1099 and began rebuilding the church once again. Construction was not completed until the year 1149 AD. The result of that construction project is essentially the church as we see it today. The Christian churches listed administer the site under an agreement referred to as the status quo. Inside the church is a conglomeration of over 30 chapels and worship areas. This diagram shows which denomination controls each section. Under the status quo, no single denomination can make any alterations to the site without the agreement of the other five. The immovable ladder is specifically mentioned in the decree of 1757. Therefore, it cannot be moved unless all denominations agree. This engraving from the year 1728 shows the ladder under the window. This photograph of the church shows the ladder under the window in 1885. For almost 300 years, this ladder has been part of the history of the church and remains in place to this day. Upon entering the church, what you see directly in front of you is the stone of the anointing. Upon entering the church, take a hard right and you will ascend a steep, curving flight of stairs. You are now ascending the hill of Calvary. I do want to take just a moment here and thank our fantastic tour guide, Philip Cool, who you see here. I will leave a link to his website in the description below. If you're planning a trip to Israel, I highly recommend you contact him. At the top of the stairs, you enter the Roman Catholic Chapel for Calvary. The arched ceiling is covered with multiple mosaics. On the ceiling here, you will see the only surviving mosaic from the Crusader era. This is the Greek altar in the Greek chapel at Calvary. Underneath the altar and just in front of the person kneeling is the place where it is believed the cross would have stood. The glass enclosures cover the bedrock, but under the altar you can actually touch it. You then descend some stairs back down to the first level and you emerge near the anointing stone and the mosaic. Continuing away from Calvary into the left of the entrance, a rotunda of the church opens up on the right. The rotunda is surrounded by massive pillars and topped by a huge dome. The outer walls and columns date back to the original church built by Emperor Constantine in the 4th century. At the center of the rotunda is this stone edicule, which is the tomb of Christ. On the back side of the edicule is this very small Coptic Christian chapel. Near the foot of the priest here you see a bit of the backhead of the rock of the tomb of Jesus. On the west end of the rotunda is this small chapel that belongs to the Syriac Orthodox Church. This small chapel was obviously at some point damaged in a fire and has never been repaired. I'm unsure why it's never been repaired. My research stated there was some conflict between the Syrian church and the Armenian church over this chapel, or it could be just because the Syrian church does not have the funds to make the repairs. On the far side of the chapel is a low entrance to some 1st century Jewish tombs. These are believed to be the tombs of Joseph of Arimathea and Nicodemus. This is one of the 30 chapels inside the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. It is known as the Chapel of the Division of the Holy Robes, which commemorates Jesus' clothing being stripped of him by the Roman soldiers. The north transept was closed for renovations during our visit. These steps lead down to a lower level of the church where the Chapel of St. Helena is located. The chapel was constructed during the 12th century, during a time when the Crusaders controlled Jerusalem and the surrounding areas. The Crusader control of Jerusalem lasted almost 200 years and was known as the Kingdom of Jerusalem. The walls of the staircase leading down to St. Helena's Chapel are covered in these graffiti crosses. These crosses were carved here by pilgrims during the Crusader period. The mosaic at the center of the chapel looks very old, but was actually made in the 20th century. In the corner of St. Helena's Chapel are these stairs that go even lower. These lead to the Grotto of the Holy Cross. This area is controlled by the Roman Catholic Church. This is the location where it is believed St. Helena found the true cross, or the actual cross that Jesus was crucified upon. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Please like, share, and subscribe. Be on the lookout for other videos of our travels through Israel and other adventures.